Okay, so before you start the charcoal project with the skeleton, a couple of things I want you to try in your sketchbooks first. First off, with your black charcoal pencil, I want you to do a value scale. Try to make it at least 5 or 6 steps. Black all the way to light gray. By the time you get to the light gray areas, you're going to have to start going a lot slower, shading a lot slower, a lot more control. And your very last one, I wouldn't even use the pencil itself. I would use the blending stick, which you should have received from me. Get a little bit of charcoal on the tip of this, maybe from over here somewhere. Test it out like I did here to make sure it's not going to be too dark, and then start to apply it on your lightest gray. These have also been blended with the blending stick. They would look a little bit more rough if that was not done. So try doing that, smooth them back out when you're done. But take a look at how they appear before blending them too. Sometimes on your drawing, that's going to be okay. Then try doing gradation with your black charcoal. Again, start with black, shade all the way to light gray. And again, by the time you get to the lightest gray, you're back to using just the blending stick to get those lightest values. One more thing, once you're blending over it with your blending stick, if you were shading like I was doing vertically here, then when you blend it, try to blend it a different direction, maybe side to side, maybe diagonally. That's going to help smooth it out a little bit better. And guys, try to do this, or try to avoid doing this. When you're shading this gradation, try to make it not get smaller and smaller and smaller as it comes this way. A lot of students do something like they're shading like this, and then they think that's a gradation. Okay, no, that's not a gradation. Keep the gradation the same size all the way through. It's just getting lighter. This next gradation, I want you to try doing the same thing you did with the black, but then also take your white charcoal pencil and do the same thing but backwards. So you're going to shade white over here, blending over the black. On this project, you will have the option to use white charcoal along with the black, or you can use just the black. Okay, down here, what I did here was I used a pencil and I drew a line pretty hard as an example of sketching too dark. So even if I go back and erase that, then when I shade over it with the charcoal, that line shows up. So over here, I sketched a light, really gentle light line. And then when I shade over that, it doesn't show up. So you got to be really careful with charcoal, not to press too hard when you're sketching. So try this and make that line show up as an example of what not to do. Now, you will also have the option to use color. So this is chalk pastel with charcoal blended together. And if you have chalk pastels, especially virtual students, if you have these at home, feel free to use these. If not, I want you to use your colored pencil. And you're going to have the option to add color to this drawing. Again, it's an option. You can do it totally black and white, or you can add some color. Think about the places where you are adding those objects to the skeleton, flowers, articles of clothing, and so on. Those might be places where you want to add some color. Now, when I tried this with the colored pencil, I didn't think this would work that well. I did the colored pencil first, a couple different colors, and then shaded over that with the black charcoal, and it actually kind of goes over it a little bit. It's not bad. Definitely doesn't blend the same as the chalk pastel, but it works a little bit better than I thought it would. So again, if you don't have chalk pastels at home, but you have the colored pencils that I gave you, and you want to use color in this drawing, you can. You can try it out here in your sketchbook and try it on your project. Last thing that I want you to do before you turn this sketchbook assignment in is try drawing like what I did here. I guess it's some hand bones, the finger bones. So just draw some shapes like this, and I want you to shade the negative space. So we're shading around the bones. That's one of the main things I want you to think about on this drawing. Shade around the bones, let the bones be more white, and you can always go back in and add some shading on the bones, but this might be a good way to start, shading just the negative spaces. So again, the places or the things that I want you to do to turn this assignment in are value scale, these two gradations. Remember, this one's with white, this one's with white charcoal and black charcoal. This, do either the chalk or the colored pencils, blending the black charcoal with that, and draw something that looks like this where you shade the negative spaces. Last thing I want to show you though, and you don't have to do this, but you can if you want. So I just quickly sketched a skull, and when you are shading this project, this is a little bit in the future, but when you're shading this project, you might want some places at the edge, for example here, to stay white. If this is going to be white and then I've got white paper, how am I going to show that edge? Well, one way to show it is shading in the negative space up to it, like you were doing on those finger bones down here. So shading the negative space to show where the positive space is. A couple things also to avoid. When you're shading the eye sockets, when you're shading the nose, take a close look. If those are in your picture, take a close look. They're not just solid black. I don't want anybody turning in a drawing with a skull where these are just solid black shapes, and the nose too. Take a look and see what's actually in there. And lastly, if you are drawing teeth or any of the bones, okay, I don't want you to outline those. Okay, when you're drawing the teeth, don't outline the teeth. Shade between them. Shade those spaces between the negative space. Shade around them. Allow the shading that's around and between things to show the positive space, for example, these teeth. So definitely avoid doing something like that. Great, hope that helps.